Well, hello everybody. Clicked the button a little too soon there. I'm not wearing the ceremonial hat. Let me just grab that. Oh yeah, Zoe, I'm just talking to nobody again. You're looking like I'm crazy. Well, anyhow, um, welcome uh, to another live stream where I'm just probably talking to myself in the camera. But uh, the other day, or this morning, whenever it was, I did say that if no, I didn't say it here. I said it over on Facebook in a post that if I got 20 followers, I would upgrade the quality of these videos and this little channel in general by investing in lights. Yeah, so not only did I get the 20 followers that I said that if I did, I would upgrade, I got, wait for it, 24 followers. So yes, I exceeded the goal, or rather, the people that are on my Facebook friends list exceeded the goal by joining up, which means I ordered lights today. Uh, my general policy is to get sort of mid-range equipment, whether I'm buying cell phones or computers or, well, even cars, I guess. Although I've been sticking with Fords lately. But in this case, though, I didn't go for the cheapest, but I did not also go for mid-range lights either. I went for something toward the lower end of the spectrum. Um, you got sort of two for the price of one. There's some like color filters that come with it if I want to get funky with it. But what the two lights do is that I could set one up in here in the office, and I could set one up out in the living room if I decided I want to film somewhere else for the day. Somewhere else being just, in the other room. But those lights arrive on Friday, so I'll be futzing around with them, setting them up, and by the end of it, I'll probably do a little more practicing, and then hopefully this will look a lot better going forward. But time will tell. The other topic I want to talk about tonight is a little bit of my philosophy when it comes to role-playing game design. Specifically NUELOW Games products, although some of this carries over into everything that I do. So my idea of a good role-playing game product is when I buy it and read it, it gives me ideas. And I can see potential beyond which of that is on the page. There's either vaguely described parts of the game world. There are characters with potential in their backgrounds or in their motivations that I can build on. Just things that I can take and be creative and run with. And when I am, yeah, it's interesting how the light keeps going on and off. I guess it's when I move. I don't know. But better light's coming. One hopes at least it'll be better lights. And one also hopes that I will learn to enunciate some more, and that I will learn to look at the little green light where the camera is, so I'm not constantly looking down. Although I'm looking off to one side because one of the cats is nervous and going, "Why are you babbling? Why when you're talking, it's usually to me or someone else in the room, and there's nobody here. What's going on?" And I'm going off on a tangent now, which makes absolutely no sense, but game design philosophy. I believe that it is my job as a game designer of role-playing games to provide material that GMs and players can use to feed their imaginations. There needs to be enough there to get you started. There'll be enough there to give you some value for your money. But at the end of the day, I think it's about spurring your imagination and encouraging your creativity out there. Now, where it gets kind of a two-pronged approach is when I'm adapting an existing property to role-playing games. And that is something that I've done a lot of. Star Wars, I worked on Star Wars. Only touched the movie source books a little bit, except for the episode 1 stuff. I did a couple of episode 1 source books, but even there, I was just sort of expanding. And I mean, Lucasfilm had drawn some lines, and I knew enough about working with them that there are certain things that you don't do. And then there are other things that they will let you just run with. But even again there, it was, what can I do to expand existing material and provide stuff that players and GMs can just develop on their own. With and there was kind of 2 modes that I approach it in. One, take the property, look at it, and then come up with something that's actually more generic than anything else, that just rules material that have the feel of the property or provide some of the feel of the property, but are general in nature and can be broadly applied. And then there's also the rules that I look at the property and it's very specifically adapted. The rules are built to mimic some unique quality or unique property, property of the property, something that's unique to the storyline, the material that I'm looking at. For example, NUELOW Games, we did a series of 3 books called The 3 Lives of Phantomime. Phantomime is a comic book character who essentially was the first female superhero. But she was a character created by a guy who probably was a certified lunatic, or at least had some sort of either severe alcoholism issues. Maybe I don't need to learn to enunciate. I just need to learn how to talk. But anyhow, a gentleman by the name of Fletcher Hanks came up with just absolutely off the wall stuff. And when he created Phantomime, she was basically this ultra powerful demigoddess who punished those who came into her jungle where she lived and did evil, or just did unsavory things that weren't necessarily evil, but stuff she objected to. Generally, though, they were some pretty evil people that incurred her wrath, or they were weird invaders from outer space. That story did not make it into our anthology, but maybe someday we'll do something with it. But anyhow, so Phantomime started out as this super powerful being. Well, Fletcher Hanks moved on to other projects, and other creators came in, and either they or the editor or somebody looked at Phantomime and went, God damn, we don't know what to do with this. This is just too weird. And they downgraded her power. Over the space of a small handful of stories, her magic abilities seemed to go away. She no longer, in the first stories, she had very powerful magic abilities, and when she used them, she transformed into this she transformed from a white-haired, statuesque woman into a blue-skinned, skull-faced monster, basically. But Hanks left. A creator came in that was operating under a pseudonym. I'm blank on the pseudonym right now because I just kind of do these things off the cuff. But writer-artist came in, 1 guy or 2 guys or a team. I don't know. And within over the course of a handful of stories, Phantoma's magic powers faded away, and she essentially became just another one of the jungle girls, sort of in the uh, mold of Sheena, uh, and half a dozen other characters that were in print at that time in the 1940s. Because that's what we're all talking about here. We're talking about early to mid 40s. Um, so the golden age of American comics and creativity American comics, basically. But Phantoma started out super powerful, seemed to lose some of her magic abilities. And as her jungle girl phase progressed, the magic powers were basically forgotten by the creators. And then, either for artistic reasons or for editorial reasons, or combination thereof, Phantoma transformed again. The Jungle Girl, she was, she had an adopted. She took in a. She had a kid sidekick. She had a pet panther. Um, and one day she's wandering through the jungle, and she runs into some strange people, and it's revealed that she is the heir to the throne of sort of this lost civilization that exists in the jungle, and they take her home so she can claim her throne. And then now we have Phantoma, queen of the lost civilization cycle of stories that start. And she gets a bit of a power downgrade again. Not really much of one, because she already had lost the magic powers. It was all sort of, but now she sort of has bodyguards protecting her, and I mean, she still fights. She's still capable. She's still smart, but she has to get rescued by a couple of times by kind of love interest in these stories. And so this character, Phantoma, sort of functions in the opposite arc of what you see a lot of comic characters do. Like Superman starts out, he has a hard time stopping trains. He can't fly. He just bounces, jumps really high. And as the years go by, he gets more and more powerful. And that's kind of the pattern that happens with a lot of characters. People run out of things to do and they need to, ratchet it up. With Phantoma, they ratcheted it down. So from a game design perspective, adapting this property to the D20 system, that presented itself as an interesting challenge, because characters, much like your standard comic book hero, they get more powerful as time goes by. Phantoma did not. So why is that? Well, there's got to be a reason if you want to, try to make the world make sense, which again is something that I feel that I have to do when I'm writing some rules and stuff and adapting a setting to role-playing games. So clearly something was draining Phantoma's powers. And so I wrote an explanation for that. It sort of gets revealed backwards as the books are released. There's sort of this, I think they were called the scrolls of the Phantoma or something. I don't remember exactly what the little fiction pieces were called, but it basically explained how when there was rebellion in that lost civilization, they rushed the heir out to protect her, but they had to make a deal with these supernatural entities, and they infused her with vast amounts of power. But as she uses this power, it's consumed. So the way that was modeled in the game design was that you start out, you have a 20th level character. As for example, They make this deal with the devil or these supernatural entities. They get written up in the in I in the third volume of the Phantomime books. We write up these entities. I think, if memory serves. That's where it ended up. But every time you use your magic, you burn some of that energy. Some of that supernatural energy gets expended. So if you're going to transform a whole bunch of poachers into rats or even smaller creatures, that's going to burn a bunch of magical energy. And that's burning basically your experience points. So you are losing levels. So you're gaining XP because you're a D&D character, but if you're going to use your amazing powers, XP goes down. Phantomime in the early stories was going absolutely over the top what she was doing. So her power level was dropping until she gets to the point where she is now just another jungle girl and then just the princess in a lost city. I think it works quite well. Those books have sold okay, and I assume people have read the rules and hopefully have used them, and so far there haven't been any complaints. So the kind of backwards character development and that design seemed to work. So that was a design of rules that was very specific, very targeted, very much trying to capture the essence of Phantomime over a couple of different iterations in the rule set. And stats, I provided stats for Phantomime to show how the character changed as time went by. Some things went up, some things went down. Now, when it comes to the upcoming book from NUELOW Games, Mystic Moot and His Magic Snoot, the thumbnail for this video is, I'm debating whether it's the final cover or not. The artist known as Stan, friend of mine, drew that great cover. Typically, I would, put the masthead on there. I would put a, compatible with 3E logo on there. Maybe maybe a NUELOW Games logo or something. Looking at that art, and I'm saying, gosh, I don't want to cover any of this up. So maybe it's just going to be Stan's picture and the title. I don't know. I have a few days to figure that out. It wasn't come out Tuesday, but things have gotten in the way. It might be Wednesday or Thursday at this time. We'll see. Might even be next week. Week after this, coming week. But again, super digression. The Mystic Moot material. Again, doing some D20 system rules to sort of capture that property. And what's unique here is Mystic Moot, as the title implies, Mystic Moot and his magic snoot. He touches his nose, just points his nose at people or what have you, but generally he seems to touch it. And he makes magic happen. He channels magic through his nose. So there are rules for magic body parts in there. So you can have a magic elbow, you can have a magic ear. It's a feat. It's goofy as all hell, but get this book. I think you'll have fun with it because the stories are goofy as all heck too. So the intent is there to capture the general gist of it. But I did not sit down and say, I'm going to adapt Mystic Moot exactly as what I find in the comics, and only the spells and the magic effects that he uses will be in the rules. Because the feeling is that Mystic Moot does whatever he needs to do. Now, I've never been terribly comfortable with the D&D system as being completely open and, whatever magic you want to do, whatever effect you want to have happen, well, that happens. Yeah, it's just not the way the system is built. It's just not the way the rules are expected to work. When you're a high level caster, certainly things like wish, or there can be some other spells where whatever you want to happen, then well, that happens. Um, so, but I still also wanted to have it sort of open and more free flowing, like the comics. So you're not memorizing spells every day. Um, so kind of like a sorcerer in third edition, but also a little more open than that, because I wanted more flexibility. Because again, it's the comics; they're more flexible than what even the sorcerer is. And there's the thing with the body part. So the solution was not to do a very targeted and specifically focused adaptation like in the Phantomime books, but a more general one. And we have the feat that gives you the magic body part, which you get to choose as a player. Well, the DM can sort of say, no, I'm not going to let you have the magic butt, I mean, for example, or magic butt cheek even. Although I will admit that there is some phrasing in the feat, the magic. Sorry, I keep calling magic because that was the initial thing I was writing, and I realized, no, it should be mystic, the mystic body part through which you channel magic. There is some phrasing there that could be construed as encouraging you to take the cheesy body parts, if you will, the cheesecake body parts, if you will, as your choice. But GMs will probably have a thing or two to say about that, depending on the game. Anyhow, the feat, you determine the body part that is magic, that you channel magic through. And when you do that, you get 0 level spells. But those 0 level spells are you have a limited selection of things you can do with your magic body part. And then you can get better at it. You take a talent, and then you can add first and second level spells off of this particular list. And it's like the sorcerer. It's whatever spell, or a cleric, whatever spell off this list you want to cast, you can cast. You don't need to memorize it. You don't need to say it at the beginning of the day, well, today I'm going to do these spells. But you have this selection, but there's no limit. You can just cast away to your heart's content off of this list. And each of these levels, I'm still tinkering. That's the joy of digital publishing. You can kind of tinker almost right up to the date of publication. I try not to, but it's possible. Whether there's going to be, there's about 5 or 6, or maybe even a little more spells at each level, and they're going to go from level 0 to level 9, just like your standard spells. There's not going to be any epic level spells, because I'm just trying to keep it in line with standard OGL, D20 and D20 modern sort of stuff. So the Mystic Moot rules are more general, more open, and just there say, okay, here's this concept of mystic body parts. It's inspired by the Mystic Moot comic, but it's not a very particular adaptation like the Phantomime stuff. I even started writing a few just new spells for the book. One of them I just tossed up on the blog, NUELOW Games blog, earlier today, because I decided ultimately that, nah, I'm going to not include any of these new spells. We're going to just provide spells that are already in the D20 material that is out there. So people can just reference whatever rule books they have handy or whatever online sources they like, and they can work off of that. Um, the spell that's on the blog is Mystic Pogo Stick. It amused me greatly when it popped into my head, and it was partially based on the fact that mounts exist. The spectral chopper spell exists, which you basically conjure a motorcycle and you can ride around on it. And there's also the spectral limousine, which implies you conjure up a car and you and the other player characters or party girls, whatever, party guys, can cruise around in for a while. But Mystic Pogo Stick seemed like it was in keeping with Mystic Moot. But Mystic Moot never seems to. Well, no, he does actually summon vehicles, so it could have been in there, but I just decided against putting in the spells. So you can go to the NUELOW Games blog or actually my Facebook page, I put it on there too. The Mystic Pogo Stick is on there. There's also a draft of the feat and the talents that combine to create the mystic body part, rules advancement and skills advancement. The spell list that I'm putting together is not there. That's just going to be in the book. But you can sort of go look at those rules if you want. And so that's basically just a little bit on a little rambling. Probably not terribly useful because I'm realizing it's not as coherent as it was as I was sort of thinking about doing this. So another improvement on these might be me actually making an outline of what I'm going to be talking about so I can stay on topic and, kind of posting it there behind the camera so I can be looking at the notes and look like I'm looking at the camera and looking at you. And I'm going on half an hour now, so I think I'm gonna kind of wrap this thing up in a moment here. But basically, when I'm doing role-playing game design, I view my job as not railroading you through an adventure, but given structure for the GM, so there's an adventure there. They know what to do with all the stuff, but leaving it open, leaving lots of room for people to exercise their own creativity. That's why you can look just about almost everything I've done that had source material in it. It's full of adventure hooks, and that's why. The Phantomime stuff, the adventure hooks are kind of in the fiction. There is a Phantomime Christmas story that I really do want to finish when I pull my stuff together again. And that explains what happens to her kid sidekick, who just kind of disappears between the Jungle Girl period and then her Queen of the Lost City period. I mean, the pet panther is still there, but the kid that she adopted, he goes somewhere. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I'm realizing I am not certain whether they actually do deal with him in the story. That's one of the problems that I have, to be honest with you, when I work with some of these properties and several years go by. Like we did the Phantomime thing, I think it was back in 2012, 2013. When I try to think about it, I sometimes mix up what is actually in the original material versus what I came up with. So canon or just Steve working on a licensed property and making stuff up. Or in the case of the NUELOW Games products, stuff that we either can do whatever the heck we want with because it's public domain, or things that we got permission from the creators that actually own what we were playing around with. So but I really do think that the kid just kind of disappeared between this story and that story. I'll have to go back and look. But the point is, I want to help people or be a resource so people can run their games and people can be creative rather than dictating a story to them, dictating, as in, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end, and you better damn well follow my plot outline or there's going to be hell to pay. Um, or it's just going to all fall apart. I mean, I find those game products to be unfortunate and just badly done. And on that note, I really don't have a way to wrap this up, so I'm just going to say it's been half an hour. I'm done. I hope you have a good morning. And if you're finding this some point in the future, I'm hoping you're having a good day. And if anyone comes upon this and has questions or comments, I get notifications when people are poking around. And oh yeah, I guess I should make a promise. If this little channel gets 35 subscribers, it's at, when I started doing this, it was at 24, so I'm assuming it's still at 24 since the middle of the night in most parts, or early morning, other places. But in most parts of the US, it's middle of the night. If it gets to 35, I'll buy another hat, so there can be like 2 hats I can wear, and we can like have different kinds of hats, or maybe I'll just let you see my big giant forehead on some days too. Because yeah, I didn't like the light shining off my big giant forehead, so that's why I grabbed this cap at one point. Now it's just become a thing. So if we get 35 subscribers, I will buy another cap, and I will switch between them as we record. Or as I record, since it's really just me and, well, the cats. Maybe we can get Simba back on camera someday too. Zoe, I can guarantee you will never see unless something very, very strange happens. That cat does not like to be handled, does not like to. She comes when she wants to come, and she never comes up here. The only place she comes up and gets close is when I'm laying down in bed, so she can flee quickly if she needs to. But yeah, so 35 subscribers, I'll buy a hat, another hat, and I'll wear it. Or if somebody wants to be generous and get a hat for me, I might regret making this offer, but I will wear that hat, alternating with this or whatever hat I end up buying. So yes, that would be the 35 subscriber mark, another hat. But Friday, lights arrive, I'll get them set up. This will look better. And we're getting closer to why I'm really doing all this nonsense. And that's, like I said, I've got this box of anime DVDs that I want to show people. And I want them to tell me what I should watch and what I should just take down to half price books, not even bother breaking the seal on. That's coming down the road. And maybe, hopefully, some people will actually, I'll announce it far enough in advance where if people want to give me their opinions, they can give me their opinions. Because right now, it's like half an hour before I turn on the camera that I say, hey, I'm going to be on YouTube. Or it's even worse, I just turn on the camera and start talking at it. So we'll see if once I get things looking better, once I just don't come on here and ramble, I can break out that box of, the box of boxed sets and have the knowledgeable people of the world tell me what is worth my time and what isn't. All right, so third time to say it. Now I mean it. I am calling it quits for the night. And I think this is going straight on the page. So as soon as I hit the right button here, it should shut down, and then will be available for everybody to watch in replay. And you can play me at 1.5 speed or 2.0 speed if I can still be comprehended, and you will probably be done quicker. Well, you will be done quicker, and my rambling won't seem quite as rambling.